If those three happen, is Europe over? If these three fall?
Well, we're already seeing right now, you're watching the riots and everything that's taking place in Europe, and the austerity programs are devastating the economy over there. People are terrified. And so you're already watching the dominoes starting from what's not the largest. If this one goes, which it's gone, and then this one, which is really the next one to go, even before Portugal, because of its size, that's devastating. It's devastating.
Let's look at the United States. These are the top 4 states that are on the verge of collapse. New Jersey, $474 billion. Illinois, $633 billion. New York, $1.1 trillion. California, $1.8 trillion. That is out of $13 trillion. If these states go down, there's no way for the country to survive. So
you've got $4 trillion, Glenn, of 13. You've got just under 2 of 16. You see what's happening in Europe when they're only dealing with 2 trillion of 16. What could possibly happen in the United States if you're dealing with 4 trillion of 13?
I think America is beginning to understand why me and you have lost a lot of sleep in the last 2 years. I saw this coming, what, about 4 years ago, David? The first time we met.
You were talking about it then.
Yeah.
2 years ago, you and I were talking, and you were identifying this is the domino. This is what's beginning.
The first time I met David, it was at a social function, and he's a snot from Colombia, and he said to me, do you remember the first thing you said to me?
I do.
What'd you say?
I said, I like the way you think outside the box. You are not educated. You cannot have had formal education because you think beyond most formal educators.
No, that sounds like really nice. No, he said to me, first thing he said is, where'd you get your education? And I said, I didn't have one. And I thought he was going to be a snot about it. And he said, I knew it. And I still thought he was going to be a snot. And he said, I can't get my students to think out of the box. And that's the problem that everyone in America has, is they just keep thinking in the same box. They keep thinking, oh, well, it can't happen here. Oh, well, there's systems. There's nothing. There's no system for this. This is catastrophic failure. So now the question is, yeah, hang on, Glenn, yes?
Yeah, why don't we just say no to California? Why don't we just say no to California? Why don't we just say no to Greece and their overspending and all their social commitments?
David?
The very thing that we are most afraid of, and you're watching Congress act on, the too big to fail concept, is the very thing that California is depending upon for its survival. That they will be too big to fail. The 8th largest economy, they will say, Americans cannot afford to let us go down. The only problem with that is nobody is changing. If you watched even the last elections and the dialogue around it, it's not about isms. It's not about politics. It's about putting people in there who are promising to take care of everybody without any issues related to the fact that they're broke.
Okay. This is why I want to, this is why we're in Pittsburgh tonight. This is why we are trying to wake you up. We have a solution. In fact, was it Janet? Is it Janet? You're the one who's actually working on one of the solutions we talked beforehand, right? We'll get into that in a little bit. But there is a solution to this. It's just not a comfortable solution, but it's a realistic solution. Before we're going to take a break, and then we come back. And before we get to that, I want to go back to Europe for a second. Because what they're suggesting is a giant bailout. Forget about the United States. Let's just go back to Europe. What they're suggesting is a giant bailout. And it all comes down, really, correct me if I'm wrong, to one country in Europe. Do you know where I'm going? Germany. To Germany. We're going to spend a few minutes on that one next. That you look beyond the headlines and you see what is coming in Europe and how it plays out, because I think Europe is ahead of us, and the same exact seeds have been planted here in America. I ask you tonight, look to the future of Greece and of Europe so we may prevent it from being our future as well. I have to tell you, I'm just looking at Jeff, who's, come here. Jeff is our Steadicam guy. He worked with me at CNN. Jeff, do you remember when I was saying, when I was over at CNN, I was saying all this stuff, and everybody, oh, this guy's crazy. They still say that, don't they? Yes, they do. All right, we're back with full professor at Columbia University. Congratulations on that. David Buckner, and we are here in Pittsburgh because here's a city that reinvented itself. And I'm doing a stage show tonight that you can see live in movie theaters all across the country. Go to glennbeck.com/tours to find out more information. We're talking about what's happening in Europe and how it is coming to the United States. These United States, as opposed to the United States, these United States. Tell me what is really, in the end, the bailout all goes to one country.
Well, there's one country that has the largest driver, that's Germany. And Merkel, I mean, the entire government there is having to deal with the issue of internal forces, saying we are a state unto ourselves, and the external forces saying, no, 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 these states, you have to be part of the game. And they're fighting those on both ends. Do we protect ourselves, or do we run the risk of cannibalizing ourselves to ensure the help of others, which really may not be insured?
Right. So Germany knows. I mean, David, is there anybody really in the dead of night that knows, you know, they might say one thing and during the day, but at night they know this, you can bail out all you want. It's over.
They know that it's over, which is why they're enforcing austerity programs, which is why the riots are there.
Right.
They know the game is up, and they're trying to put 5% interest rates on loans they're going to give them, and they have to demonstrate austerity approach or efforts to get that 5%. So there's a quid pro quo on this.
All right. So if Germany is the one in the end, that because they're the big industrial might, they're the ones, they're the what, Texas?
They're the Texas.
They're the Texas. They're the ones that are really chugging through. They're not doing, you know, France and, hey, you can retire when you're 17. They're actually working hard, and they're doing it. What do you think like a German? No, don't think like a German. That usually ends up really horribly. What happens in the end if they are now having to ship all of their money, all of their success, off to Greece and to Spain and to Portugal and every place else? What do you think the Germans think? Anybody? What do you think happens in the end? Scott, go ahead.
Bill, Germany takes over. It's my country. I just bought you.
Okay. Anybody else? Patricia?
Collapse.
What'd you say?
Collapse for Germany. I mean, they just have so much money to give.
Okay.
And then that's it. Their
Okay.
economy goes down.
All right, so their economy goes down. Betsy?
I would say that they start to become they stop working. I mean, if they feel like it's not helping us, it's just going
Anybody else?
out.
How about this? And you're going to have to really think out of the box for this one. That Germany says, we are Germans. And we were the ones that had the right idea, we lived our life. And they start to do the exact opposite of what they're now being forced to do, join or die. And they get pissed off at the rest of Europe for forcing them to lose their lifestyle. And you start heading in towards nationalism again. Anybody think that's a possibility, that Germany might head to nationalism? Yes. David?
Well, there's the potential. The politicians are giving lip service to the rest of the European community because they wanted everybody to be one, and yet the people are the ones that are rising up and say, wait, what about us? What about the fact that we've been prudent?
Yes.
So that, well, I agree, the
here,
people...
Let's go back to the United States analogy here. Germany, what did I say was a state in the United States?
Texas.
You ever been to Texas? You know Texans. Texans are like, we're Texas. We're Texans. You want to do that little thing in California, you do that little thing in California, we'll kick your ass. That's the way they are, right? And they're not bad people, but they are proud of Texas. Now, if we force Texas to bail out New Jersey, Illinois, New York, and California, do you think Texans are going to say, you know what, I'm cool with that? Or are they going to say, I don't want anything to do with you guys? It's not nationalism, it's statism, if you will. It's self-preservation. It's self-preservation. And then you add on top of it, the same in Europe, it's the same. Does anybody remember the railroad track show that I did? Where I drew out the railroad tracks? Yeah. And what did I say the left track of European politics was? Do you remember? It was communism. On the railroad track in Europe is communism. On the right rail is National Socialism. Yes, fascism. That's what's happening now. If you get nationalism in Germany, where do you think they're going? And who's doing the riots now in Greece? The other rail. Communists, revolutionaries. This is the 1930s all over again. All over again. Except this time, where's the United States? This is why I am asking you, I am begging you to think out of the box. If all of this is crazy, let's all get together and have a Glenn's crazy party in 2 or 3 years. Let's do that. You could pin the tail on me and dunce cap and everything. I don't care. I want to be wrong. But I'm begging you to consider the possibilities, because there is something you can do that will help. And this seems overwhelming. Does this seem overwhelming to anybody? Yes. Yeah, right? Take your breath away. This is bigger than, this is the biggest event in human history, if it happens. But the answer, as Ronald Reagan said, there are no easy answers, but there are simple ones. This is not an easy answer, but it is simple. It is so simple. Just like this is so complex that everybody dismisses it, the answer is so simple that everyone will dismiss it. You must not. I'll share it with you next.